promise I'm not trying to be cliche or special when I say that getting lean genuinely changed my life in a complete 180 direction. Now, there's a lot of coaches out there that'll talk on the internet, and they started off skinny, which you may be, but I don't think many coaches actually started off really, really overweight. Like some of them might have been skinny fat, not been super confident in their physique, but I started off bad, man. Bad, bad, bad. So I'm going to go ahead and start this from my childhood. So back when I was about 6 years old is about the earliest, well, probably a little earlier, but this is when my memory started to actually be a little bit more pronounced. So early childhood, I was 6 years old, and I would remember I'd go into my primary care, my pediatrician, with my mom. And I would always dread stepping on the scale because I'd always get some crazy news. Like my pediatrician, I remember one time I was 136 pounds at the age of 6 years old, and I was 4'4" tall. So what the pediatrician, what she would do is she put like the stats of most average kids, which has probably changed a lot now because, we live in a pretty fat instant gratification society. But back then, I guess it wasn't as bad. But she put this graph, and it would show where every other kid is relatively, like the range they're in. And then she'd compare me to that. So if most kids were around this range, I was not right here because this was the top of the charts. I was actually not even on the charts. Like that's how overweight I was. But besides those moments of me stepping on the scale and whatnot when I was, a youth or whatever, it didn't really bother me too much. Yeah, I wanted to lose weight. Yeah, I wanted to be skinny. Yeah, I wanted to, fit in more when I played sports, but it's not like I genuinely felt uncomfortable in my skin. I mean, I was 6 years old. 6 years old, there's a lot to be happy about. At least then there was. But I remember when I was 7, 8, 9, I started getting in second, third grade, and kids just got meaner and meaner. And I'd be getting picked last on teams, and I was out of breath all the time, and I was always the slowest person and whatnot. And this truly did start to take a toll on my mental health. And I think the issue with it wasn't even necessarily because of the weight. It was more so because I felt like I lacked agency. When you're 9 years old, 8 years old, 7 years old, one, you're usually not smart enough to figure out how to lose weight, especially in that time. There was no chat GPT. There were YouTube videos out, explaining certain things, but lots of them were garbage because information was just so much worse than it is now, I would say. There's still garbage out there, but it's gotten a lot better. Also, I didn't have the discernment. I was a freaking kid to discern whether or not this was garbage or this was good. So I just felt like I was stuck here. And then I'd hear from one family member, oh, I did this diet. You got to do this. I tried the military diet. I tried Jillian Michaels. One thing did end up working for me, though. I do remember. When I was about 8, I tried this guy. His name was Mike Chang. It was Six Pack Shortcuts. And I think he's like on a completely different timing now. He's like, no, I wasn't 6. I was like 8 then. I think he's like on some spiritual, I don't know what he's on, but I'd follow it. I remember the title of the video. It's called the Psychotic Afterburn Workout. And he explained how if I did this, I'd lose calories and lose weight even after I finished working out. And I was just in awe about it. I was like, really? I'm going to lose weight after the workout and whatnot? And placebo or not, or maybe because I was trying to, when you believe something, your body, your mind will do things for you to start to align with that belief, consciously or not. Even at that young of an age, you could see how powerful it was. It actually ended up working for me. I ended up losing about 10 pounds from a 10-minute workout. Obviously, we know the science now, of course. I was just probably in a calorie deficit. Since I was working out naturally, you're just a little bit more mindful of, hey, let me not eat the Chips Ahoy. Let me get white milk instead of chocolate milk, that kind of thing at lunch. But losing 10 pounds and growing like 4 or 5 inches, that is a very drastic effect. And I'll get this positive reinforcement of, oh, Seth, you lost weight, blah, blah, blah. Oh, you look good now, blah, blah, blah. What have you been doing, blah, blah, blah. And then it was just great. It honestly was great. So I was just on top of the world. I felt accomplished. I saw my other friends, they were eating extremely goofy foods. So I was just like, okay, I did it once. Now I can go back to eating, goofy foods, right? And as I continued to grow, the effect wasn't as pronounced, of course. I wasn't like crazy, massively blowing up, but I started to get, just pudgier and pudgier over time. So fast forward a little bit towards middle school. Middle school, I can't remember the year exactly, but this wasn't too long ago. So about a decade ago, roughly. So middle school, I was in middle school and I was playing basketball a lot then. And luckily, of course, as you know, with basketball, it's a sport to where you're moving around a lot. You're doing a lot of this, balling, shooting, dribbling, blah, 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 running up and down, doing, can't say the word, the S words, 17s, all of it. So with me playing basketball, that allowed me to actually stay lean as well. Now, at that time, was I very good at basketball? No, not really. So I wasn't taking it that serious. And then what ended up happening, though, with that was I was able to maintain my weight for a little bit, and then I moved over to high school. And then high school rolled around, the big, big panoramic, as you know what I'm talking about. The big 19, that happened. The world shut down. Everybody was scared. My mom was freaked the heck out. She was like a nurse. Like, I don't know, I guess she just got scared easily. So me and my sister, we were just stuck in the house. Like, she was just on us. Like, she was super paranoid about it. So, and at that time, I don't know if you recall it or not. Maybe you were in the industry looking around or whatnot, but fitness coaching was absolutely booming, especially online fitness coaching. I mean, there were coaches every freaking where spewing out a lot of stuff. So I'd read a lot of stuff, I'd watch a lot of videos, and I was really just ingesting in a lot of information. And then I ended up falling for the cope that a lot of people end up falling for, at least once in their journey. Maybe not so much anymore, but back then, the whole mantra, if you wanted to build muscle, was eat big to get big. You can't get big. You can't grow muscle if you're not eating big. You can't grow muscle in a cup, blah, blah, blah. So that's what I did. So I would get some of the goofiest meals humanity has ever seen, ever. And I'm not exaggerating when I said this. These were like actually some of the stupidest meals I've ever seen in my entire life. I would, for breakfast, eat a whole pack of bacon. I'd eat 2 or 3 Eggo waffles. Lunchtime comes, 2 Chick-fil-A sandwich meals, and then finish things off with, listen to this, 24 barbecue wings from KFC. 24. And you want to know the workouts I was doing? There was this YouTuber, I won't say his name, but he used to make these little short workouts, and I had a pair of 10-pound dumbbells. And I do these 8-minute workouts with these 10-pound dumbbells. And obviously, of course, a 10-minute workout with 10-pound dumbbells, you just burnt so much energy. So you need to consume 5,000 calories. Or so I thought. Or maybe I was just coping because I wanted to eat more food. But nonetheless, I got fat. Fat as shit, for lack of a better word. I blew up. I looked absolutely disgusting. Like, the whole panoramic situation started to die down. I went back out to the courts. I'd seen my boys. They'd be like, damn, Seth, you look fat. They'd call me Rod Wave. They would grill me. They'd be like, yo, you got moobs, blah, blah, blah. Like, I was getting fried. And rightfully so. Like, I was cooked, man. I got really out of shape. But I was kind of used to the feeling, though. Because it didn't feel crazy terrible because I've been there before. But definitely did still sting enough from going from the point to where, like before, I was getting validated for losing weight to where I literally blew up and became like an absolute like POS basically. Like I did not look good whatsoever. And this really bothered me. Like I remember breaking down to my mom one day. I was talking to her about like, Mom, I got really overweight, blah, blah, blah. I don't feel good about this. I was like super frustrated and sad and whatnot. And then, she was trying to help me, good mom and whatnot. She was saying like, yeah, you need to be running. If you go outside and you start running again, like you were doing earlier, and when you're playing basketball and then you lost weight, you'll lose weight. Running is the key. Don't worry about eating all that food. You don't need to eat all that food, blah, blah, blah. You know, okay advice, generic advice, and definitely a lot better than what I was doing, but I had an ego. When you're like 15, 16, you think you know everything, and like, man, I know I just saw on the internet, eat big to get big. What is she talking about? What does she know? So I did try it though. I did try running for a little bit. I was not messing with it. So what I ended up doing is that inspired me to go really, really, really deep into the rabbit hole. Because, around that time, that panoramic time, the big 19 time, we were on the screens all day. Computers, phones, laptops, whatever. You were on your screens all damn day long. So I would go down this rabbit hole, and I was consuming about 8 to 10 hours of content per day on just fitness stuff, how to lose weight, best exercises for this, best way to grow your back, best way to grow your rear delts, best way to lose fat, easiest way to lose fat, how to lose fat. You get the idea. I was just going ham, and I was learning, and I got so much information in me. Alongside that, I'd hear a lot of conflicting information, so I'd do a little bit of research. I'd read some studies, I'd read some books. There was a very, very vast period of times where I just sunk in a lot of information in my brain, and I became, I would say, pretty well versed on the knowledge there. However, this happened in a really short period of time. So my body didn't really look how my mindset looked. So I had this little bit of cognitive dissonance. I was thinking to myself, I was like, okay, I know all this stuff, but people still saw me as fat as shit. That didn't feel good. Truly, it didn't feel good. So what I did, since we couldn't really go to gyms like that still, they were pretty closed down, I got a set of rings, and I indulged in gymnastics for a little bit. I would do these gymnastic workouts. I would do these ring workouts I'd see on the internet. Got pretty competent with them, and I started doing like an aggressive cut, like 1,000, 1,500 calorie cuts, which I would not recommend by the way, but I was doing it. And I was building so much freaking muscle because I was like a teenager then. And essentially, I had no real training age. I had just straight newbie gains, apart from the 10-pound dumbbell workouts, but I guess my body just didn't even register those because I was getting stretch marks. Like, I can even show you. Like, I don't know if you could see that. I still have a few stretch marks. I know I have some back here. Like, I got stretch marks all over me. And that's just because I was building muscle so freaking rapidly. Like, it was crazy. Like, every workout, I was so much stronger. And this was really, really motivating. And as I got more motivated, I delved deeper. I learned more. I was like, what else is there to know? I got so obsessed, and this became such a deep passion for me. And then, over the course of about 90 days or so, I lost a crap ton of fat. Close to 50 pounds in 90 days. And mind you, at that point, I was heavy for sure, but it's not like I was freaking 500 pounds heavy. I was about like 210. So I lost about 50 pounds, got to about 160 there, and I looked really, really good. Really, really just ahead of the game. And people just started asking me like, hey, what did you do? You just looked like absolute You just looked like absolute garbage 3 weeks ago. Now you're out here looking like this. How'd you do it? I was like, okay. I would sit down and I'd just send them through these long yap sessions of me explaining how everything works. And then, some of them be like, but it's just so much passion. And, when you're younger, you don't really have much of a filter. So I was just like, just boom, boom, boom. Like, I even remember one time during like one of my Google Zoom classes or whatever it was a Google Meet. Like, I forgot how it came up, but the teacher asked something about fat loss. I think it was for like some general paper study. And then, man, I hogged up that mic for like 30 minutes. My team members, they were messaging me on Snapchat, Seth, shut up, Seth, shut up. That was just how strong my passion was. Like, it was crazy. Obviously, I don't do that this kind of stuff now, but it was insane. It really was. So I got really, really lean. And then bam, I started helping a few people out. Okay, my friend wanted to learn how to lose some weight. I helped him out. Some people would hit me up on Snapchat. How do I lose this? How do I get my love handles off? I'd help them out. Little did I know, I started changing lives. People started being like, oh my gosh, you're doing this. You're actually like kind of like a coach. You should be charging for this. So I was just like, screw it. I don't want to do that. You know, why? I don't know. Freaking teenagers are stupid. Don't know why I wasn't like trying to, be a coach then basically, but I was just kind of doing it for the fun of it. So fast forward a little bit throughout high school, towards like the tail end of high school or whatever. I kind of got a little bit too knowledgeable in terms of how my body would take food. So for those of you who were in some of my classes before, you guys would know I would come into school every day. I would have Chick-fil-A. I'd have a breakfast biscuit. I would have spicy fillets. I would have a hash brown. And every single time, without fail, I would have a large sweet tea with me. Without fail, there was no chance I didn't have it with me. So I bring this in every day, and I was still staying relatively lean. I was still building muscle. My lifts were going up. That literally the day after I turned 17, I hit 225 on my bench. Like, I was chilling. Like, I looked pretty good. Felt okay. Felt confident in myself and whatnot. So I was about 17 then. I did my checkup with my doctor because, yearly checkup. And then, we did some blood work and whatnot. And he checked my blood. I got a call. I was like, what the heck? Nobody wants to get a call from their doctor after getting blood work. I'm like, yo, what was going on here? He was just like, hey man, we saw that your A1C is at a pre-diabetic range and that your LDL markers, your LDL was about 182, which is like sky high. The A1C was like pre-diabetic, so it was like right on that cusp. But my bad cholesterol was terrible. And then he was just like, yo, man, if you don't get this locked in within the next 6 months or so, because he was even surprised himself. He was like, man, I'm looking at you. You look good. But he was surprised. I was like, how did this happen? He was like, well, I don't know. You exercise a lot, right? I was like, yeah. And he was like, do you eat fast food a lot? I was like, yeah. He was like, that's why. So even though I was running the If It Fits Your Macros, I experienced my blood markers getting cooked while staying lean, which is why I'm very against If It Fits Your Macros. Not just that reason, but there's a lot of reasons for that. But he's just like, yeah, man, your blood markers, they're cooked. And if you don't lock in, we're going to, have to put you on the atorvastatins and whatnot and, potentially the diabetic medications. I was like, no freaking way. So I started cooking my meals, started cooking them, started cooking for my family. And these meals were freaking smackers, but they were high protein, low in calorie. And I was just learning stuff day by day. And as I continued on this path, we did the recheck, blood markers got stable. I was like, man, this whole fitness journey was essentially pretty much my whole entire life that I could remember up to this point. Like, I've been in this fitness game my whole entire life. So even though I'm relatively young, I managed to compress all that time just because of all the adversity, which in the moment looked like, a curse, but in reality, God gave it to me as a blessing because through that, I learned so much about food, so much about fitness, helped feed people out. And now, I would say at this point, God forbid anything happens. I mean, I don't think there will ever be a day that I'll get out of shape ever again, truly. And that's just changed my life, and it's given me a confidence because still, even though we're getting more information, more medicines, more, everybody's on the Retas and whatnot, and the GLPs and whatnot. Even as we're getting more information, obesity rate is still continuing to climb. But you get a little bit of internal self-pride when you're like, okay, with all this adversity, I still managed to figure it out. I did. And I've helped so many men figure this out. And by the way, if you're watching this and you're a man, I'm going to preface before I say this. If you're not willing to put in work, if you're scared of actually changing your identity, if you're scared of meal plans, if you're scared of working out because you don't like working out because it hurts, this is not for you. But if you're a man who's actually ready to change his life, build on some lean muscle, lose some body fat, get into the best shape of his life, then go ahead and follow me on Instagram at Seth, SETHJ, just the letter J, Blanc, BLANC, and then DM me change, and then we could kind of go over a little bit of a game plan and a format to help you get to the shape that you want to get to, because don't think it's impossible for you. I really don't want you to think this is impossible for you, because if it's possible for me, it truly is possible for anybody. And I'm not saying that as some after school special or some have faith in me kind of thing. This is purely science based. Do the right inputs, have the right guidance. I'm just going to shortcut that time, compressing all my experience into you so that we can get this done for you in a short 90-day to 6-month window, depending on how much weight you need to lose. Then DM me the word change and we can really help you out with that. But I'm truly just so blessed at the opportunities that God has given me, getting to the point to where I was and having all of this adversity, all these ebbs and flows, ups and downs, lefts and rights, to where enough asymmetric bets in my favor actually got me to the point to where I'm at now. And I hope I can help more and more men do the exact same thing.